You know, people often say that love is blind, but they never tell you that sometimes love is an illusion, one that looks so perfect, so complete, that you don't realize you're standing on a fragile glass floor until it shatters beneath you. My name is Ryan Carter, and I'm 28 years old. If you'd met me 5 years ago, you'd have seen a man at the top of his world, confident, successful, admired. I was the CEO of R&L Innovations, a fast-rising tech company that had just landed a multi-million-dollar contract, the kind of success people dream about. I had the house on the hill, the cars with names people couldn't pronounce, and a reputation for being the golden man. But even with all of that, I was lonely. My life was loud on the outside, parties, awards, headlines, but painfully silent inside, until I met her. Her name was Emily Dawson. She was 25, bright, charming, with that magnetic energy that could light up an entire room. The first time I saw her was at a charity gala I'd sponsored. She wore a light blue dress that shimmered softly under the golden lights, her laughter floating like music through the crowd. I remember thinking, she's the kind of woman you notice once, and never forget. I walked up to her, confident, yet oddly nervous. "Hi, I'm Ryan," I said, offering my hand. She turned, her eyes sparkling, and replied with a teasing smile, "Oh, I know who you are. The man everyone keeps writing about, Ryan Carter, the business genius." Her tone was playful, but her eyes, they were calculating, observing. Still, I didn't see it. I saw only beauty, charm, and warmth. That night we talked for hours, about art, travel, ambition, the kind of conversations that make you believe you've known someone forever. And when she laughed at my stupid jokes, my heart believed it had finally found home. Within weeks, we were inseparable. Expensive dinners, long drives down coastal highways, spontaneous trips to Paris, Milan, anywhere she wanted to go. She'd rest her head on my shoulder and whisper, "You make life so easy, Ryan." And I'd smile, thinking it was love. I didn't realize then. She didn't love me. She loved the world that revolved around my money. Still, I ignored the warning signs, the way her eyes lingered on my watch when I reached for my credit card, the way she spoke of our future in terms of luxury, never love. Because when you're in love, your heart edits the truth. One night, we sat on my penthouse balcony. The city sparkled below, like diamonds scattered in the dark. She sipped her wine and said softly, "Do you ever think about what would happen if all of this just disappeared?" I laughed lightly. Disappeared? Number. I've worked too hard for it. It's not going anywhere. She smiled faintly. Good. Because I don't think I could live without this. At the time, I thought she meant our life. Now I know she meant the luxury, the comfort, the world I built, not the man behind it. For the next year, things felt perfect. We traveled, we laughed, we posted pictures that made people comment, couple goals. But behind those pictures, I was slowly losing touch with reality. I stopped seeing my old friends, I skipped family gatherings. My world shrank until it was only her, and then everything changed. It started with a call from my business partner, Ethan. "Ryan, we've got a problem," he said, his voice tight. "Our biggest investor just pulled out. They're questioning our numbers." At first, I didn't panic. We'd had setbacks before, but over the next few weeks, things went from bad to worse. Investors withdrew, clients delayed payments. Rumors spread that our company was unstable. Then I discovered that Ethan, the man I trusted like a brother, had been making deals behind my back. Deals that drained our funds and destroyed our credibility. In one brutal month, my empire collapsed. Bank accounts froze, properties went under review. And just like that, I went from billionaire to broke. I remember the night I told Emily. I came home late, exhausted, defeated. She was sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone, a glass of red wine in her hand. "Emily," I said quietly, "we're in trouble. The company's going under." She didn't even look up right away. "How bad?" she asked flatly. "Bad," I said, trying to steady my voice. "But I'll rebuild. I just need time." She sighed, stood up, and set her glass down. Her tone was calm, but cold. "Ryan, I don't know if I can live like this. You promised me stability, not struggle." Her words cut through me like glass. "I thought we were in this together," I whispered. She looked away. "I didn't sign up for a broken life." And that was the beginning of the end. Over the next few weeks, things spiraled fast. I sold my car to pay off debts, then my apartment. Each day, Emily grew more distant. When I came home late one night, tired from job interviews that went nowhere, she was packing a suitcase. "Emily, what are you doing?" She turned, eyes cold. "I can't do this anymore, Ryan. I need someone who can give me the life I deserve." I stood there in silence, my heart pounding. "Was it ever love?" I asked quietly. She hesitated, then said softly, "Maybe once, but not anymore." And just like that, she walked out of my life. No tears, no goodbye, just the sound of the door clicking shut behind her. I wish I could say I moved on quickly, but I didn't. I spent weeks replaying every moment, every kiss, every lie wrapped in a smile. It wasn't just losing her that broke me. It was realizing how blind I had been, how love, or what I thought was love, had turned me into a fool. I hit rock bottom, sleeping in a small rented room, eating instant noodles, wondering how everything had fallen apart so fast. For the first time, I had nothing. No money, no home, no love. And then, fate intervened. One rainy afternoon, I stopped by a small cafe I used to visit during my college days, back when dreams were bigger than bank accounts. The place smelled of coffee and nostalgia. I sat near the window, staring out at the rain, when I heard a familiar voice. "Ryan?" I looked up, and there she was, Sophia Miller. She was a classmate from college, quiet, kind, with the softest eyes I'd ever seen. She had a crush on me once, I knew that, but I was too wrapped up in my own world to notice. Now, years later, she stood in front of me, graceful, calm, yet surprised to see me in such a simple cafe. "Sophia," I said, smiling weakly, "it's been a long time." She sat down and without judgment asked, "How have you been?" That one question, simple, genuine, nearly broke me, because it had been months since someone asked how I was, not what I had. I told her everything. The success, the fall, Emily leaving. She listened quietly, never interrupting, her expression soft and understanding. When I finished, I said bitterly, "I guess I learned what love really means. It ends when the money does." Sophia smiled faintly. "Maybe you just learned what fake love looks like. Real love doesn't end, it endures." Her words sank deep into my soul. For the first time in months, I felt something I hadn't felt, peace. She told me she ran a small nonprofit now, helping local families with education and shelter. Nothing fancy, no glamour, but her eyes sparkled with purpose. Before leaving, she said, "Ryan, you've built an empire before. You can build your life again, just differently this time." That night, I sat in my small room and thought about her words. I didn't need to rebuild an empire for others. I needed to rebuild myself. And for the first time, I didn't feel the need to prove anything to the world. I just wanted to live, honestly. When life takes everything away from you, it doesn't always mean it's punishing you. Sometimes it's clearing your path, so you can see what truly matters, but I didn't know that yet. All I knew was that I was lost. Days blurred into nights, nights into endless thinking. I tried everything, applying for jobs, pitching new business ideas, even freelancing online, but nothing stuck. It was as if the universe was testing me, asking, "Now that you have nothing, who are you really?" And then, Sophia called. "Hey," she said softly over the phone, "I know things are rough right now. Would you like to join me at the community center tomorrow? We're helping rebuild an old library." I hesitated. "Sophia, I don't know. I don't think I'm the right guy for..." She interrupted gently. "Ryan, it's not about being the right guy. It's about doing something good. Sometimes, helping others helps you too." Her words stayed with me that night. And the next morning, for the first time in months, I set an alarm. Not to chase money, but meaning. The community center wasn't much, just an old building with chipped paint and a few broken windows. But the moment I walked in, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Warmth. There were people smiling, laughing, working together. Nobody cared about what car you drove or what brand you wore. They cared about the work, about each other. Sophia was there, of course. Her hair tied loosely, a smear of paint on her cheek, holding a box of books. When she saw me, she smiled that same calm, genuine smile. "You came," she said. I shrugged, trying not to show how much it meant. "Yeah, figured I'd give construction work a try." She laughed. "Good." because we have about 200 shelves to fix. That day, something shifted inside me. As I painted walls, repaired tables, and listened to stories from people who had so little yet gave so much, I felt a strange peace. It was the first time I didn't feel like a failure. Over the next few weeks, I kept coming back. Sophia and I grew close again, not through grand gestures or fancy dinners, but through quiet moments, sharing sandwiches at lunch, walking home together, talking about life and mistakes. One evening, as we walked down a narrow street lit by old lanterns, she said softly, "Ryan, do you ever miss her?" "Emily," I sighed. "Sometimes. But not because I love her. I miss the illusion of what I thought we had. The version of her I created in my head." Sophia nodded slowly. "You know, sometimes we love the idea of someone, not who they really are." Her words hit hard because they were true. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Emily, about how everything I did, every success, was to keep her happy. But with Sophia, things were different. I didn't feel like I had to impress her. I could just be myself. A few months later, something unexpected happened. A small investor who'd once worked with my old company reached out. He said, "Ryan, I heard what happened. You've always had a good vision. I'm starting something new, and I want you to lead it." It wasn't a fortune, but it was a start. When I told Sophia, she smiled and said, "See? The world rewards those who don't give up." I laughed. "You sound like a motivational speaker." "Maybe," she said playfully, "or maybe I just believe in you." Those words meant more than any contract ever had. The next few months were a blur of long nights and hard work. I poured my soul into rebuilding my life, not for revenge, not to prove anything, but because I finally remembered what passion felt like. Sophia helped too, sometimes bringing coffee, sometimes just sitting beside me in silence, her presence grounding me. And slowly, things began to change. The startup grew, clients returned, investors noticed. I began earning again, not millions, but enough to live with dignity. But the most surprising part? I didn't crave the luxury anymore. I found joy in simplicity. A small apartment, homemade meals, quiet evenings. Because this time, peace felt richer than success. Then one afternoon, my past knocked on my door. Literally. I opened the door, and there she was. Emily. She looked different. Thinner, paler, eyes filled with confusion, and a hint of regret. "Ryan," she breathed, her voice trembling. I didn't know where else to go. For a moment, I just stood there. I didn't feel anger, just sadness. "Why are you here, Emily?" I asked quietly. She looked down. "Everything's gone, Ryan. The man I left you for, he left me. He took everything. I have nowhere to stay." I closed my eyes for a moment, remembering the night she walked out. Her words, "I didn't sign up for a broken life," still echoed in my mind. "I'm sorry for what happened to you," I said calmly. "But why come to me?" Tears welled up in her eyes. "Because despite everything, I knew you'd help me. You're not like him." I could have laughed. I could have slammed the door. But instead, I sighed and said, "You can stay here tonight." Just tonight, her face softened in relief. "Thank you, Ryan." I knew you'd understand, but she didn't understand. Not yet. When Sophia came over the next day and saw Emily, the look on her face said everything. She didn't need an explanation. She just smiled faintly and said, "It's okay." "I trust you." Emily noticed the warmth between us. Later that night, she asked, "Who is she?" I replied simply, "A friend." But even I knew that wasn't the truth anymore. Sophia wasn't just a friend. She was the calm after my storm, the kind of woman who stands beside you when you have nothing. Emily, however, saw her as competition. Over the next few days, she tried everything, cooking, complimenting, even apologizing for the past, but it all felt hollow, because now I could see through her. One evening, as the three of us were sitting together, Emily suddenly said, "You've changed, Ryan. You used to talk about success and big dreams. Now you're content with this?" I smiled. "Yes, Emily. Because this, simplicity, honesty, peace, this is what real success feels like." She frowned. "You sound like you've given up." Sophia quietly interjected, "No." "He's finally grown up." Emily glared, but I stayed silent. Because she wasn't wrong. I had grown up. A week later, Emily moved out. She didn't say goodbye. She didn't need to. Her chapter in my life had already ended long ago. After she left, I sat alone in the quiet of my small apartment. And for the first time, I didn't feel empty. I felt free. Months passed. The company kept growing. Sophia and I spent more time together, helping at the community center, taking evening walks, sharing dreams that weren't built on money but meaning. One night, as we watched the sunset from the rooftop, I said softly, "Sophia, I don't know what I'd have done without you." She smiled, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "You'd have found your way eventually. You just needed someone to remind you who you were." I looked at her, really looked, and realized that for the first time in years, I wasn't chasing love. I'd found it. Not the kind that blinds you, but the kind that builds you. Life didn't suddenly turn into a fairy tale. We still had challenges, long hours, setbacks, fears. But we faced them together. And every morning when I woke up, I felt grateful. Not for wealth, but for peace, for purpose, for her. Because losing everything had shown me something money never could. The difference between being loved for what you have and being loved for who you are. They say success changes people. But the truth is, it doesn't. It simply reveals who they really are. For me, it took losing everything to understand love. And now, as life slowly began giving me things back, I wondered, would I remember what it taught me? It started small. The company I had built from scratch with a few loyal friends began to take off. Our product, a simple app that helped small businesses manage finances, was suddenly being talked about everywhere. Investors wanted meetings, new contracts were signed, and for the first time in years, money started flowing again. But this time, I was different. I didn't rush to buy luxury cars or rent penthouses. Instead, I reinvested every dollar in my team, in our mission, in making something that mattered. Sophia was there through every step, quietly, gracefully, never asking for more than my time and honesty. She worked at a children's foundation nearby, and every evening we'd meet for coffee after work. Those moments, simple, quiet, real, became the highlight of my day. One evening, as we sat watching the city lights, Sophia said softly, "You're building something great again, Ryan. But promise me one thing." "What's that?" I asked. She looked me in the eyes, calm, steady, sincere. "Promise me you won't let it consume you this time. You're more than your work." I smiled faintly. "I promise." But deep down, a small voice whispered, "Can I really keep that promise?" Because success, like fire, gives warmth, but also burns if you get too close. As months passed, the company exploded in popularity. Journalists started calling me the comeback king. I appeared on podcasts, business magazines, talk shows. People who once ignored me suddenly wanted to be part of my world again, and for a while, I handled it well, until she appeared. It was at a conference in Los Angeles, my first big event as a keynote speaker. After my talk, a woman approached me, tall, elegant, confident. She extended her hand with a dazzling smile. "Ryan Miller, I've been hearing your name everywhere." "Thank you," I said politely. "And you are?" "Isabella Carter, CEO of Carter Ventures. We invest in people with vision. And from what I've seen today, you're one of them." Her presence was magnetic, the kind that draws attention the moment she enters a room. She spoke with intelligence, humor, and charm. Within minutes, I could tell she was someone who was used to getting what she wanted. And that day, what she wanted was me. Over the next few weeks, Isabella began reaching out. Business meetings, dinners, invitations to events. At first, it was strictly professional. She offered to invest millions into my company. It was the kind of opportunity that could change everything. But something about her felt familiar, not her face, but her energy. That same mix of admiration and calculation, the kind that says, "I like you, but I like your power more." Sophia sensed it too. One night as we sat on my balcony, she asked quietly, "Who's Isabella?" I hesitated. "An investor. She's helping the company expand." Sophia looked at me for a long moment. "I hope she's helping your company, Ryan. Not changing you." Her words lingered in my mind long after she left, but I told myself it was fine. I was in control. wasn't I? Then came the night of the gala. Isabella invited me as a guest of honor. The event was lavish, chandeliers, champagne, cameras flashing. As I walked through the crowd, I realized I was once again in the world I'd once lost, the glittering, hollow world where image mattered more than truth. Isabella found me in the crowd, placing a glass in my hand. "To success," she said, her eyes glimmering. I clinked my glass with hers. "To hard work." She leaned closer, whispering, "And to the people who make it happen." Her perfume, her voice, her gaze, it all felt dangerous. Not because I wanted her, but because a part of me liked the attention, the admiration, the validation I thought I no longer needed. That night, after the gala, I returned home late. Sophia was waiting. "Did you have fun?" she asked quietly. "It was just business," I said, trying to sound casual. She nodded, but her eyes told me she wasn't convinced. "You're changing, Ryan," she said softly. "Not all at once, but little by little." I frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means," she said, her voice trembling slightly, "you're letting the same world that once broke you pull you back in." Her words cut deep, but instead of listening, I got defensive. "I'm doing this for us, Sophia. For the future." She looked away, her eyes glistening. "Then why does it feel like I'm losing you again?" The days that followed were heavy. We barely talked. I buried myself in work, late nights, meetings, deals, and Isabella was always there, pushing, praising, distracting. She began calling me partner, both in business and increasingly in tone. And though I never crossed a line, I didn't stop her either, because a part of me liked the illusion of being needed again. Then, one evening, everything came crashing down. I was in a meeting when my assistant rushed in, pale-faced. "Ryan, there's an issue with the investors' fund transfers. We're under review." "What do you mean?" I asked sharply. "There's been a misreporting, false numbers linked to Carter Ventures. It's under investigation." I froze. "Isabella's company?" He nodded. Within hours, the story broke online. Carter Ventures under fraud probe. Ties to Ryan Miller's company. I couldn't breathe. Everything I'd rebuilt was suddenly at risk. Again. That night, I called Isabella. No answer. Then another call, straight to voicemail. I tried again. Nothing. I felt my world slipping through my hands again. As I sat there, phone in hand, Sophia walked in. She'd seen the news. Without a word, she sat beside me. For a long time, neither of us spoke. Then she said gently, "You tried to do everything right this time, but you trusted the wrong person again." I buried my face in my hands. I thought I'd learned, Sophia. I really did. She placed a hand on my shoulder. Learning doesn't mean you'll never fall again. It means you'll stand up faster. Her calmness, her strength. It broke me. Tears filled my eyes. "I don't deserve you," I whispered. She smiled faintly. "Maybe not, but I see the man you're trying to be, and that's enough." The next few weeks were chaos. Investigations, interviews, endless scrutiny. But this time, I didn't hide. I came forward, faced the media, and told the truth. How I was deceived, how I'd trusted too quickly, and how I was taking full responsibility to make things right. It wasn't easy, but I learned something. People respect honesty more than perfection. Slowly, the storm settled, and when it did, something beautiful happened. Investors returned, not because of flashy promises, but because they saw integrity. My name, once again, became a symbol, not of luck, but of resilience. Months later, one evening, I found myself walking along the same street where it had all begun, where I'd once been broke, lost, hopeless. Sophia walked beside me, her hand in mine. The streetlights flickered softly. The world felt quiet. "I almost lost it all again," I said quietly. She smiled. "And yet, here you are, wiser, stronger, freer." I looked at her, my heart heavy with gratitude. "I used to think love was about someone completing you," I said, "but it's not. It's about someone who stands beside you, even when you're broken." She squeezed my hand. "That's what love really is, Ryan. It doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be real." As we stood there under the city lights, I realized something profound. Success didn't define me anymore. Neither did failure. The only thing that truly defined me was who I chose to become, despite both. They say success is loud, but love whispers. The problem is, when the world starts clapping for you, it's easy to stop hearing the whisper. That's exactly what happened to me. Months after clearing my name, things began to turn around faster than I could have imagined. Our app wasn't just successful, it went global. Partnerships across continents, investors from Silicon Valley, Tokyo, London. The media called me the man who rose twice. Social platforms filled with clips of my speeches. Believe again, fall forward, don't fear failure. Everywhere I went, people wanted a piece of my story. Every handshake felt like validation, every award like a second chance. But deep down, I was beginning to feel something strange. Like the more people knew my name, the less I knew myself. Sophia was still by my side, but somehow I didn't see her the same way anymore. Not because she changed, but because I did. I was always on the move, traveling, filming interviews, attending conferences, late-night flights, endless emails. And every time she said, "You need to rest, Ryan," I'd reply, "Just one more trip. Just one more deal." She never argued. She just smiled, that quiet, understanding smile. The kind that says, "I'll wait for you." But waiting has limits. One evening, after returning from New York, I came home to find her sitting by the window. The city lights glowed behind her, soft, golden, fading. "Long day?" she asked, gently. "Exhausting," I sighed, dropping my jacket. "The launch in Tokyo is next week. Then Dubai." She nodded slowly. "And after that?" I smiled faintly. "Then maybe a day off." Her voice softened. "Ryan, when was the last time we had dinner without your phone buzzing?" I looked up. "I'm building something big, Sophia. You know that." She met my gaze. Not angry, just sad. "I know. But sometimes it feels like you're building a world I don't belong in anymore." I froze. I wanted to tell her she was wrong, but I couldn't, because deep down, I knew she was right. The following weeks became a blur. TV interviews, podcasts, sponsorships. I was named among Forbes 30 Under 30, a dream I once thought I'd never achieve. At the gala dinner, the host called my name. Ryan Miller, a story of redemption, resilience, and relentless ambition. The crowd clapped, cameras flashed, and as I stood there smiling, trophy in hand, something strange hit me. I looked around the room and realized Sophia wasn't there. I had forgotten to invite her. The applause echoed louder, but inside I felt completely hollow. When I got home that night, the apartment was dark. She was sitting on the couch, her eyes red. She'd been crying. "Ryan," she said softly. "I saw the award ceremony online." "Yeah," I said quietly. "I meant to call you." "Things were crazy." "You forgot," she interrupted. "It's okay." Her voice was calm. Too calm. I sat down beside her. "Sophia, don't make this something it's not. You know I care about you." She smiled sadly. "I know you care, Ryan. But caring and choosing are different things." I frowned. "Choosing?" She looked into my eyes. "You choose your company. You choose your career. You choose your fame. When was the last time you chose me?" I opened my mouth to speak, but there were no words. The next morning, she was gone. No fight, no dramatic goodbye. Just a note on the kitchen counter. "I love you, Ryan. But I can't love a man who doesn't have time to love himself. Maybe one day, when the noise stops, you'll remember what silence feels like." I stood there for a long time, staring at that note, feeling like someone had pressed pause on my entire world. Days turned into weeks. I buried myself in work again. Not because I loved it, but because it distracted me. Every speech, every meeting, every smile. It all felt mechanical. The applause no longer reached me. I started rewatching old videos of us, the way she laughed when I burnt pancakes, the way she rolled her eyes when I sang off key. I realized something painful. In chasing the world's validation, I had lost the one person who loved me for who I was when I had nothing. One night, I sat on the balcony where we used to talk about dreams, the same balcony where she'd once said, "Promise me you won't let success consume you." And I broke that promise. I whispered into the cold night air, "I'm sorry, Sophia." A few days later, my assistant handed me a letter. "No sender's name," he said. It came through the office mail. I opened it slowly, the handwriting. I knew it instantly. It was Sophia's. "Ryan, I watched your interview yesterday. You looked proud but tired. I hope you're okay. I'm happy to see you doing what you love, but don't forget to live what you love too. There's a world outside of boardrooms and spotlights, and somewhere in that world, there's still a man who used to believe that kindness mattered more than profit. Don't lose him." The letter ended with 3 words: "Take care, always." I held that paper for a long time, and then I cried. For the first time in years. Something changed after that. I began stepping back, slowly. I canceled a few appearances. I told my team I wanted a month off. They were shocked, but I didn't care. I started visiting old places, the park we used to walk in, the cafe where we met, the bridge where we first kissed. Every corner whispered memories, and with each step, I felt like I was rediscovering the man I'd once been, the man who valued moments more than money, connection more than clout. A few weeks later, while visiting a charity event, the same foundation where Sophia used to work, I saw her again. She was across the hall, talking to a group of volunteers, laughing, radiant as ever. Time hadn't changed her. If anything, it had made her glow brighter. When our eyes met, she froze. So did I. For a second, the world went silent. Then she smiled. Not the smile of someone in love, but the smile of someone who had healed. I walked over slowly. "Hi, Sophia." "Ryan," she said softly. "It's been a while." "Too long," I admitted. We talked, awkward at first, then easier. She told me about her work, her travels, how she'd started a small foundation of her own, and I told her I was taking a break, maybe for good. She nodded approvingly. "I'm proud of you." I smiled faintly. "You always were." As the event ended, we stood outside, watching the sunset. There was a quiet peace between us, the kind that comes when pain finally turns into wisdom. "I never stopped believing in you," she said. "I know," I replied. "That's what made it harder to lose you." She looked at me, eyes soft, voice steady. "Maybe we both had to lose each other to find ourselves." I nodded. "Maybe." A breeze swept through, carrying the scent of jasmine, her favorite, and in that moment, I realized something profound. Love isn't always about endings or beginnings. Sometimes it's about understanding and letting go with grace. That night, I returned home and sat at my desk. I opened a new document on my laptop and began to type. Not a business plan, not a speech, but a letter to myself. "Dear Ryan, remember what it felt like to lose everything and how it set you free. Remember Sophia's kindness, not her absence. Remember that the world will always clap, but the people who truly care, they listen in silence. Don't chase noise. Chase peace." I signed it simply. Ryan, the man who finally learned to be quiet. As I looked out the window, the city lights flickering below, I finally understood what Sophia meant all along. Success wasn't the destination. It was just a distraction, one that only made sense once you found something deeper. And I had. Not fame, not money, but peace.